It's time for Baseball's Last Frontier, Stories from the Pecos League, the podcast that will open your door to baseball's entry level, telling you the stories of the teams, players, and coaches of an independent minor league circuit. I'm your host, Bruce McClure, and I have the pleasure of introducing to you my friend, partner, co-host, and man on the inside, Evan Katz. Evan, where are you now?
Well,
what is happening?
Two nights ago, our season wrapped up with two losses in Garden City. I am in Boardman, Ohio. It's a good thing we drove over 6,000 miles in the last couple of months because it got me ready to drive the 1,200 miles I've gone in the last 2 days, driving from Garden City to St. Charles, Missouri on the Missouri River. Beautiful downtown historic location. And this morning got up and went from St. Louis through Indianapolis through Akron, and here I am in Boardman, Ohio at an Airbnb on my way home.
So how close are you to Youngstown?
Oh, right next door. Went through Youngstown. As you know, the old steel town is being reborn, and right next door.
Youngstown, Ohio, the hometown of one of the tragic stories in Major League Baseball, former Padre and Giant Dave Dravecky.
Yes. Yes. Inspirational and
yeah,
unfortunate.
Yeah, he was destined for greatness, I think. And I mean, his numbers that are in Baseball Reference, he was a winner. He kept runners off base. And yeah, that was a tragic story.
Well, he didn't he develop cancer and,
yes.
and ultimately in his valiant effort to return, I think he break his arm pitching.
Yes.
It was a very tragic and heart-rending moment on the mound there.
And he still gets elongated standing ovations every time he walks on the field out in San Francisco. So God bless him. Good for him. But now you've been traveling through the Midwest over the past couple of days, and I've been told by those who have done this before that there are 3 signs of civilization in the Midwest. Can you tell me a little bit about that, would you?
Well, I mean, it really dawned on me. I don't know, maybe our second or third road trip over 6,000 miles this summer through agricultural and the sometimes arid plains of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Colorado and New Mexico. And when our minds and bodies sought respite from the hundreds of miles of relentless open and farmed land, we learned to look for 2 distinctly Midwestern objects. They were grain elevators and water towers. They are usually the first tall objects to appear on the horizon, signs of a town, a gas station, food, and restrooms. So we learned that. And interestingly enough, the same tabletop landscape that seemed endless at the same time provided an extended horizon to let us know that visual relief in a pit stop was not far ahead. And I suspect that in the pre-GPS days, these signs of civilization were much more important.
How did we survive without GPS anyway?
You got me, but it was really enjoyable just looking out over the horizon, looking for those grain elevators, and some of them are very big. Some are the size of, there was one in Salina, Kansas that was the size of a battleship, I believe.
I'm just happy that the grain elevators and water towers weren't the sign of a mirage that you drove into and found out you were still in the middle of nowhere. But
no, we're fortunate. GPS reassured us.
So now you've been telling me over the past couple of days that we actually have listeners.
We do have listeners, mostly friends and family. We're a low-budget podcast, and we don't receive listener data or comments from our distributors, but the parents of North Platte 80s players visiting North Platte have let us know they've loved the episodes featuring their ball player sons.
This is great.
After the games. So we know we have at least 10 listeners. We love the positive feedback, but the best accolades came from a father who said, I've never heard him talk about topics like that at home. So,
oh my gosh, okay.
We gave a window into their son And for parents and listeners, we're glad to hear that's our goal when sharing stories from the Pecos League. And I think there are 5 million podcasts, and we hope that the support of parents of our podcast guests will help get us into the top 100,000.
There you go. I kid, we have listeners, but being a member of the Society for American Baseball Research, just like Evan is, I can tell you that many SABR members have emailed me talking about the podcast. A couple of them saying, wait a minute, I've never heard of the Pecos League until you guys started talking about it. So hopefully we're giving them a few more eyeballs, a little more discussion. I'd like to take a moment to any of the parents who are listening out there, hoping that their son is being featured this week on the podcast, to say thank you for listening. We appreciate you. This has been a lot of fun. It's a not interesting window into something that I never would have fathomed, being from up here in New London, New Hampshire. Just get a map and squint, and you'll eventually find my town. Uh, so I've enjoyed both seasons of looking into the league and watching a lot of these kids progress. And Evan, from what I understand, has enjoyed his education on how to choose sunflower seeds. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. But
Yeah.
before we get that, I just want to mention that this is going to be our last show of the season. So we
I'm
which
fired again. Great.
do want to mention that as we get going here, and thank our listeners for their support. And yes, sunflower seeds. Early on in the season, I mentioned that I learned how to choose sunflower seeds, and so now I'm branching out. And before Game 2 of the playoffs in Garden City, I passed through the stands and started a conversation with a couple of fans from Garden City that were about my age, a couple of retirees, and they were chewing sunflower seeds. And I mentioned I learned how to do that recently, and I said that my current favorite flavor is taco. I have to tell you, you cannot imagine the rainbow of choices for sunflower seed flavors. But taco was my most favorite, and I commented on the exotic flavors in the bags that they were holding, and the conversation moved on to other topics, their hour-long ride to games as they live near the Colorado border, and North Platte's chances of beating Garden City. And then I went to the behind the dugout and off to the bullpen, and all of a sudden, a few minutes later, the husband appeared in the bullpen with a bag, and he gave it to me, and I opened it up, and inside were 2 bags of their hard-to-find flavors of sunflower seeds: cheddar jalapeno and cinnamon churro. And I haven't tried them yet, but I will be soon. So I want to say here's a shout out. Thank you to Pat and Mikey Moore from Kendall, Kansas. Thank you for your sunflower seed gift.
How many flavors of sunflower seeds are there?
Well, that's maybe we should have a SABR committee research that, Bruce.
Well, we do have a ballpark concessions committee. That
Are
that
you
that,
kidding
that
me?
might be it
Okay.
right there.
All right. Here we go. And that would be a great research project.
All right, so Evan's the retired CFO of this duo here. He's not only the man on the inside, he's the man with the calculator. So let's talk about the statistics for this as
So,
the season winds down. Let's go.
in the bullpen, I'm keeping track of different things. I'm looking at box scores in preparation for this, and the 48 regular season is over. There were 6 rainouts, and here are some stats to share. The 80s record was 27-21. It might not match up to what the website shows because there are some statistical anomalies that between the point streak database and the web page. So I'm going with 27-21. We were 14-6 in July. The team ERA was 6.01, third best in the Mountain Division. Here are some statistical highlights. And again, keeping in mind there are some quirks. This is to the best of our knowledge, and also reminding our listeners that the official scoring at each field is highly variable based on the baseball training of the person who is keeping track of the game and logging it into point streak.
We got a committee for that too.
Okay, we could maybe we have a committee for official scoring that can.
We do.
So here are the pitching leaders. We had Pierce Salbago, won 5 games in the regular season, also a big one in the playoff. He had 65 strikeouts in 50 innings, 5th in the league. Corey Stewart was the save leader. Here's another thing about the Pecos League. He had to leave before the second series in the playoffs against Garden City because he teaches, and his school year was starting in early August.
Oh, Lord.
The ERA leaders, bullpenners. Eddie Kafton had a 1.63 ERA in 22 innings. Jake Boucher, our middle infielder, two-way pitcher, had 16 innings in 9 games with a 2.2 ERA. And then John Lugering, our sidearmer, brought to us through the courtesy of Sidearm Nation, Jeff Freeborn, in 20 games, 24 innings, he had a 3.00 ERA. Our batting leaders, we had our top 4 hitters with averages between 345 and 355, noting that the league average is about 300. Kobe Tweeten, Rico Riley, Jake Boucher, and Alex Kornblau, who joined us in the middle of the season from the State University of New York in Plattsburgh. Rico Riley was our home run leader with 11. Our BI leaders were Riley, Aiden Diltz, and Kobe Tweeten. Hits leaders, Rico Riley, Jake Boucher, and Kobe Tweeten. Stolen bases, 40 for Rico Riley, 33 for left fielder Caleb Copeland, and 20 for Jake Boucher. And a tip of the cap to Rico Riley and Jake Boucher for playing in all 48 regular season games.
While I'm thinking about it with stolen bases, does the Pecos League use the bigger bases?
No. We do have major league rules. We have pitch clocks in some places. We have limits on throws to the bases, but our bases are the old 15-inch,
The
old
15s,
size,
yep.
15 to 18, right?
So promotions, recognitions, all-stars.
Yeah, this is my own list, plus some other official recognitions. We had a promotion. Left-handed pitcher Ben Smith was signed by the Billings Mustangs before the playoffs. He did have 3 games where he appeared. Unfortunately, he was just released, but was given some insight on how he can work on his pitching over the winter and hopefully come back next year. We had 5 All-Stars: Ben Smith, Pierce Salbago, another pitcher, Rico Riley, Kobe Tweeten, and third baseman Aiden Diltz. We do need to mention that, again, that Ryan Lutinsky, our super sub, was the entrant in the home run derby at the All-Star game, and he was a top finisher. My own recognitions here, two to make note of. Ivan Santos, who we interviewed probably 6 weeks ago, at the time was a part-time player, pinch hitter, pinch runner, and part-time second baseman. He worked his way into the role of starting second baseman. So the second half of the season, tip of the cap to Ivan Santos, and also special recognition to Jake Boucher, a two-way player, shortstop, second baseman, and a relief pitcher, a great asset to come out of the bullpen. By way of second base, he would come off the field when he wasn't hitting, go to the bullpen and work out, go back to second base, and then when it was time to bring him in, he would be called in with a position switch by manager Todd Everleth. Last recognition, the 80s had a vote for MVP. It was Ryan Lutinsky. Our pinch hitter, late game substitute, right fielder, and first baseman had an incredible year. He worked on his swing path at an off-season baseball facility using high-tech machinery. You can hear his interview from, I think it was a last episode. He ended up with a 400 batting average, 685 slugging average, and 1160 OPS, 70 at-bats in 28 games. Also, he's our field maintenance leader, does the foul lines, and he is a batter's box line artisan. Episode 10, to hear about his secrets. The last item. For listeners who are curious about how much the 80s were paid this season, the tally was about $800 for 2 months. Funds were raised by passing the hat in the stands for home runs. When pitchers struck out 7 in a game or struck out the side, the hat was passed. We also passed the hat for 10-run games. These are at home, of course. We had a 50-50 raffle, raffles for autographed broken bats, and a major season-ending raffle. So 2-month season, $800 for most players. That probably doesn't even cover their food. Playing in the Pecos League is not a money-making proposition, but if you're chasing a baseball dream, it's worth it. You can ask any of the players. They were so gratified at the end of the season to have participated despite the many miles in the car and the low pay.
Definitely for the love of the game.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, let's recap the end of the regular season and the slide into the wild card playoffs. Why don't you tell me what happened as we wound it up?
Yep, since we spoke last, we had 3 season-ending games with Blackwell. Mike Nestor held the Flycatchers to 1 run and 3 hits in 6 innings, struck out 7 for an 11-2 win. 3 Blackwell errors in the 4th, plus a Nestor 2-run triple got the 80s out in front 4-1 in that game. Sean Bennett had 3 RBIs and Ivan Santos had 3 hits. The next day, Blackwell jumped out to a 5-2 first inning lead and finished with a 10-5 win. The bright spots for the 80s were Rico Riley's 11th home run of the season and 2 late game splendid catches in center field by Caleb Copeland. The last regular season game was rained out to give each team a day to rest before the start of the wild card round of the playoffs, which were at Bill Wood Field. 2 very interesting games. It's always good when the playoff games have a little bit of extra pizzazz. In the first game in a 2 out of 3 series, the 80s overcame a 4-0 and 6-5 deficit, aided by big hits from Ivan Santos, who hit a 2-run home run. John Hamowitz had a 2-run double, and Rico Riley had a grand slam. Anything can happen in the Pecos League, and it did in this game when Blackwell issued 14 walks and committed 4 errors, contributing to their 20-10 defeat by the 80s in the first game of that series. Joe Barons was the winning pitcher. Its first franchise playoff win, and due to work and family circumstances, it was Rico Riley's last game with the 80s, and Corey Stewart was on his way home. With the earlier departure of Ben Smith, manager Todd Everleth was juggling a 22-man roster as no players could be added after the All-Star game. The second game, remember 2 out of 3, the Flycatchers jumped out to a 3-0 lead after 3 innings, but Pierce Salbago, All-Star right-handed pitcher, held Blackwell hitless for the next 6 innings, which allowed the 80s to rally. So down 3-0. Jake Boucher had an RBI single Jake Boucher had an RBI single in the 3rd after we fell behind 3-0. John Hamowitz doubled and scored on an error in the 7th to make it 3-2. TJ Beninati was hit by a pitch in the 8th and scored on Caleb Copeland's single. The game was tied in the bottom of the 9th. Trevor Nelson led off the pinch hit single. After a walk and hit by pitch with 2 outs and a 3-2 count, Ryan Lutinsky singled to drive in the winning run. It was bedlam on the field, and the celebration continued until early the next morning. In fact, for the first time, I joined the players at Mik Ebisu, their local post-game destination in North Platte's Canteen District, for their post-game revelry. The win was the culmination of the season. It was so gratifying and rewarding for the players, whether they were on the field or not. For the final out, for me, it meant I had achieved a goal I had set last fall. Recruit players to the 80s, participate in selecting the roster, coach the team through the season, and support the players and help them to be successful as possible. And it's really, I've said to a number of people, this is my baseball capstone project. And now that I've been through every phase of baseball that I could participate in, given my retirement and my limited experience, it was just a great joy to be able to participate this season with the 80s. And that was really how it felt at the end of that game, knowing we had to go on to the next round to face Garden City. But that was the ecstasy of the season. And then we went into the Lions Den, Clint Leitner Field in Garden City.
I'm just surprised that North Platte is big enough to have districts.
Well, the Canteen District, it's the name that they gave it. It's like the old town. The old town. I have to tell you, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I don't know what the Canteen District means. We'll have to research that and somehow report back to our listeners.
Okay, we'll do that. So then we go on to the division championship. What happened?
Well, to refresh people's memories, Garden City had a 43-7 regular season record and had outscored its opponents 534 to 218. That's a 300 run differential in 50 games. That's 6 runs. They scored 11 runs in the first 3 innings and brought us back to earth with a 17-1 victory. Game 2, do or die. Starter Mike Nestor, who never played college baseball. He graduated from high school and played in men's leagues. He joined us after the start of the season. He pitched the best game of his pro career 3 weeks shy of his 25th birthday. He held Garden City to 1 hit and 1 run in 6 innings and left the game tied 1-1. And this was including a 40-minute rain delay. And he between the 3rd and 4th innings, he didn't skip a beat. Ace reliever Eddie Kafton gave up a run after a catchable fly ball disappeared briefly into the twilight for a double, setting up a sacrifice fly, and the Wind went ahead 2-1 in the 7th. Kafton had been lights out, and I didn't know how they were going to score off him, and the only way they were able to do it was with that twilight-aided double. Leading off the top of the 9th and the 80s behind by a run, the home plate umpire ruled Sean Bennett fouled off a 2-strike pitch, but was overruled by the third base umpire, who awarded him first base on catcher's interference. But another conference with the second base umpire restored the original foul ball call. So instead of having the leadoff runner in the 9th on at first base, Sean Bennett had to hit, and he popped out. And this is one of the beauties of the Pecos League. There was a very extended delay in these 2 conferences about this possible catcher's interference. An 80s fan, I think it was the wife of one of our players during the conference, sent a video that she had taken off of the live stream in her living room at home and sent it to the dugout to show that it clearly was catcher's interference. However, that was not reviewed as part of the conference, and we were out of luck. 2 more 80s reached base before the inning ended, but we didn't score. It was the end of the 2025 season. And, the emotion, as with the walk-off win over Blackwell 2 days ago, washed over the field for both myself and the 80s. And the last inning win over the Flycatchers, as I mentioned earlier, just reverberated with the satisfaction of the win and the achievements of the season. The loss to Garden City just captured the pain of the loss and the finality. There were a lot of hugs and some tears after that loss on the field in Garden City. Bittersweet, sweet for all the excitement and satisfaction, and bitter losing to Garden City and knowing that the season was over.
Yeah, the club played well. I don't think they have anything to hang their heads about. I do think that we have a missed opportunity where we should have interviewed the wife of that player. I'm not sure who that was, but we probably should have got her for an interview. She would have been great. Jeez. You know what? Second year team makes first round of the playoffs. That's
it was very satisfying for the team, for Todd Everleth, the manager, myself, Trevor Nelson, who was a player coach, and Renee Colon, also a player coach. Very gratifying to make the playoffs, get past the first round. And we knew Garden City was going to be a challenge, and to hold them tied in the second game with the possibility of sending them to a third game was really an achievement.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's segue into this week's interview. You had a great guest interview this week, the Blackwell Flycatchers manager, Mik Ebisu. Did I say that right? Look at me go.
Ebisu,
Ebisu.
I think either one works.
Okay. Tell me about that.
So Mick was raised in Japan, and he graduated from high school there before attending the University of Houston. He's worked as a Japanese interpreter translator. He has a certification in baseball analytics, and it's his third year in the Pecos League. When I
Wow.
met him in Blackwell, I thought he'd be a great guest. He was in North Platte for the wild card round of the playoffs, and we brought the podcast to his dorm apartment at North Platte Community College to talk about his baseball background in Japan and his journey in the Pecos League.
This should be a very interesting interview. I'm eager to listen to it. So let's break here, play the interview with Mick, and we'll catch everybody back on the flip side in a few minutes.
We're back on the campus of North Platte Community College here in Unit 90B, our second interview here. We're closing in fast on the number of interviews in Pecos League locations. I think we've did 3 at the sleep-ins at the various locations, and now we're at our second here at North Platte Community College. We have the pleasure to be joined with Mik Ebisu. He's the manager of the Blackwell Flycatchers. He's here for a 3-game series. We've got the playoffs going on, and it's a good opportunity to talk to Mick. He brings a different international background, being born and raised in Japan, and is now here in his first year as manager of the Blackwell Flycatchers. Nice to see you again this morning.
Good to see you, Evan. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great. It is 11 o'clock, but we had a 4-hour game last night that didn't get over till 10:30. I don't know what time you went to bed, but thank you for opening your door to me this morning.
No worries. We know it can get long at times.
So Mick, tell me about your background. You were born and raised in Japan. You did go to college here, and you've been here for a while. Give us a little bit of background about being born and raised in Japan and how you came to the United States.
I'm from Japan, and I'm probably same as most kids in Japan that grew up watching baseball and dreaming of becoming a baseball player. I did the whole middle school and high school baseball over there. It's kind of what a lot of American guys think, how strict it is and how it's gotten looser now, but at my time it was much more different and it was really rough, but that's how we got by, and that's how baseball got us here and got me here.
So what are your earliest baseball memories? Like, where did you play? Did you have a favorite team, a favorite player in Japan?
So I'm not from Tokyo, I'm from the west side of Japan, so that's the Kansai area, and especially I'm from Kobe, so we have the Hanshin Tigers. It's a yellow-black striped team, but watched that growing up, and just kids will be playing wall ball, so throwing the ball around, and that's how everybody just got along and started playing baseball. It was my initial.
So did you have a favorite player on the Tigers?
Tigers, no, not really. Tigers was more of a team thing that everybody rooted for. Everybody, at the time, our favorite player was Ichiro, I have to say. It was overseas. He was here doing everything.
That's right. And Ichiro, of course, was just inducted into the Hall of Fame. And Japanese baseball, as people may not know, is almost as old as American baseball. Japanese baseball was founded around 1860, which was not too long after the mythic founding of baseball in Cooperstown by Alexander Cartwright. Who knows if that's true or not, but so Japanese baseball does date back well into the 19th century, and the first Japanese baseball player, Masanori Murakami, came to the U.S. and played for the Giants in the San Francisco Giants in 64 and 65, and actually had a 1.6 WAR over 2 seasons. He had about 8 saves. His ERA plus was just a shade over 100, so he was right around league average, and that was a groundbreaking time. And then now here we are 60 years later, and Ichiro is in the Hall of Fame. So being from Japan, how, when you were growing up and then you were in high school, it looks like baseball was something that you took very seriously. How did you look at American baseball? I know here we look at United States baseball and see Japan one way, but you're in Japan. How did you look at American baseball?
Well, American baseball looked like something completely different to us, if I must say. We grow up watching, of course, Japanese baseball a lot. That's what's on TV. We don't get much of the major league games. So it was hard for us to relate as much. But at the time, Ichiro was so big that they started to play games on, and they would start to play highlights. That's how we caught MLB games.
Right.
And it was such a big difference that it was a shock, but we loved the Japanese guy playing in the season.
So the game was different, or just the whole atmosphere was different, or how was it different, and how, I mean, it was the same game, but how is it, did it look different and feel different?
Right. To me, it's the language, because Japan is in Japan. In general, it's in Japanese. But over here, it's all kinds of languages. It's not only English. It's Spanish, or it's French. All these guys are on the team. So for me, initially it was language, but all these powerful guys builds too. And Japanese guys, you only get Japanese-sized guys. So it's very hard to have all kinds of players, which, the diversity helps over here.
And Ichiro also, I mean, for quite a while, if I'm not mistaken, most of the successful Japanese players were pitchers. Ichiro broke the mold in some ways to become one of the first dominant position players. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And did that help? I mean, Japanese players, of course, have been coming over here since the 60s. But did that change how people viewed the possibilities of playing baseball in the United States?
Yes, because back then it was thought like we need to look like Barry Bonds to go overseas. But Ichiro really proved that you don't really need to be as big. You can be very technical and make it over here. So I think it really changed the views for Japanese guys coming over to the States.
Now, how about for you? When did you start taking baseball really seriously? I think as little kids, we all dream about being professional players. Here you are, you're now a manager of a professional league. But when was it in middle school or high school? When did the baseball world become really serious to you?
So in Japan, we use rubber balls. Softer balls, not the hard balls, but rubber balls for elementary schools and public middle schools. But in general, if you want to go get used to a hard ball, you have to go to hardball league, which are outside of schools.
Okay.
So that's when you're kind of going toward the serious route. So I had chosen to go to a hardball league from middle school, and I represented my prefecture my senior year, and I faced guys that are in the pros now in Japan. So that's when I knew, okay, this can get serious, and I thought maybe this is something I would consider.
And what position did you play?
At the time, I was everything really. I had to do it for my team, a pitcher. Yes.
And how did that go? What kind of a pitcher were you, and how successful were you?
I couldn't get the velo from up top, so I had to count on going from sideways and figure it out. There's always bigger and faster guys, so just figuring out how to win a game by pitching.
And so you became a sidearmer.
No, just mixed it up. I did both. Yeah, really.
And so how is it that you were born and raised in Japan? How did you end up coming to the United States? You went to college here, and what were the steps that brought you to the U.S.?
I was a little fortunate. I had some family that was doing business out here, but through that, I came out here, wanted to go to college. Because I lived right by Harvard when I was small, I wanted to come to the college in the States. So that's when I knew, and that's where I had been trying to get to, and came out here, found a job too, and stuck since.
So did you play baseball in college?
No, actually I didn't. I went to a D3 Rhodes College in Tennessee. It's a liberal arts school. I got there, and actually I couldn't do the English. They wanted me to write a 25-page essay and about the Bible too. And I said, okay, I don't have time for baseball. So I actually quit baseball once. And so that was actually unfortunate, but it somehow worked out. School didn't even work out back then, but I found a way back into it now. I found my way back into baseball. Real estate has kept me surviving till now, and I think somehow it comes in circles.
Well, let me just confess to you that For native English speakers, 25-page college papers in the Bible can be a challenge. So,
Right.
so you were in Memphis for a little while for college, and where did you go after that?
To Houston, yes. My family, I had some family down there, so I stayed there. They're not there anymore, but I've really liked it, enjoyed it down there since.
So, getting back into baseball. So you were in Tennessee. You did not play baseball.
No.
So where did you go to college in Houston, and how did baseball return to your life?
So actually, I graduated high school in Japan. I went to college in Memphis for 2 years. So I didn't play baseball. I did a couple practices, but I couldn't do it. I had to study, but didn't even do that. And then found real estate. So did that. Well, I've been doing that since, and then I got back in because of slow pitch softball.
Okay.
There's the Japanese Business Association hosts a softball tournament down there.
In where?
Houston.
Okay, yeah.
So they wanted me to play because I had experience in baseball. And I did good. And that kind of went into a Sunday softball league. Then it went to a Sunday baseball league. And then my previous coach, Jonathan Garza from the Santa Fe Fuego, found me in a recreation league's men's league game and said, "Do you want to come? And I'm going to start this thing, and I'm going to try to make it to a league." And I said, "I would like to do that," and followed him for 3-4 years probably. It's unfortunate he's not here with me, but I got a job and somehow I'm here. Yeah.
So you ended up joining the Pecos League in 2022 as a player.
Yes,
it took a little bit of time. Before we get to the Pecos League, I'd just like to latch on to a couple of things.
Right.
You've got some baseball analytics training. What course was that, and how did you find that valuable?
Oh, well, this was actually this winter, and I was online. It was one of those ads on social media, but it was by the director of baseball operations, Max Phillips from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he taught the course about valuation and how they really put together a team during the winter and how they make decisions on the trade deadlines. And it was really interesting to see what kind of numbers they picked out of and how they're trying to evolve the statistics side of baseball.
I mean, so I don't want to jump ahead too far, but doesn't he have access to a lot more data as the GM of the Diamondbacks than you do as the manager of the Blackwell Flycatchers?
Right, so much data. So that was one thing that I wanted to bring into this team this year. I wanted to bring some analytics into it, but we are limited in the data, it's true. So it was very difficult, but it was something to think about, gave me new perspectives.
And I understand also from your background that you've spent some time as an interpreter, translator.
Yes.
How did you get into that? And that was in Houston also?
Correct.
What kinds of work did you do with that? And can you explain to us the difference between an interpreter and a translator?
Yes. Well, I started doing some odd jobs because I could speak the language. I didn't even get paid initially. And then I started doing it through real estate where I had to help clients out.
I see.
And then turned out people will pay me for that. So I started saying, okay, my first ones was for a municipal court.
Okay.
Did that. Or another one was for a patient at a mental hospital.
Okay.
So it could go from one side to the other. But I had to learn too because I only knew the word translator. And I thought that's what I was doing the whole time. I'm just translating stuff. But apparently when you do it vocally, you're an interpreter. So when you have to write things down or when you do it on the paper, you're just translating. But when you're actually hearing someone talk to you and translating it in your mind to talk to them, it's an interpreter. So it took me a while to get that.
And that's because there's not always parallel words or way to express between Japanese and English?
Right, yes. It can get lost in the translation at times. So I have to be creative with what words I choose, yes.
And so so you're talking about, let's say, real estate. It's very, very important, a lot of money involved.
Right.
And you're talking, you said court?
Yes,
court, and then you talk mental health. I mean, these are high stakes activities.
Yes.
How did you feel comfortable that you were getting it right? I mean, how would you make sure that you were able to express to both parties some of the nuances that are so important in court and mental health and real estate? How did you do that? How did you make sure you were expressing it properly?
This goes with any job probably, but I would go in with the assumption that they don't know anything, nor do I know what they know, or I know. So and go into it and have to be honest with them how I can translate and be precise as possible. But at the same time, if I don't know, I tell them I don't know, because I won't know. I'll use a dictionary, and I do as much as I can, because at most times they really don't know the language, and that's all it is. And other than that, they just need help.
Do you ever like repeat something or circle back? I mean, or like if someone gives you an explanation that it's a kind of thing. Sometimes they give you a long say something long and you can really condense it. Or other times they'll give you something short and you really expand it. I mean, would you use your knowledge of both languages somehow to make sure?
Yes.
How did you make sure that something really important was getting through?
It depends on the occasion. If it's something that just needs to be verbally conveyed, I will have them cut short so that I can translate it or interpret it word for word. But at times when there's a message to it, or it needs to be spoken in a certain way, I would ask them what they're going to speak beforehand, or try to have the right tone to it as well, because I believe that is an important part of interpreting.
And before we jump to baseball, I want to just follow up just a little bit more. Does understanding both cultures help as well?
Yes, it really does. For my experience, like when I got to Memphis, I struggled from homesickness. It's because I couldn't find my culture here, and to be able to get used to the culture here. So knowing both cultures is important, and having, like, especially Japanese guys, I would be able to help them because I know their culture. Now that I know this culture, I hope I can use this knowledge of this culture to share as well, because I think not many people get to experience both.
Okay, so now we're going to jump to the Pecos League. So you played in Weimar in 2022 with actually a couple of the North Platte 80s, Joe Behrens and Sean Bennett. And if I got this right, in 2024, you were the assistant manager in Santa Fe?
Correct.
You were off in 2023?
Yes.
Okay. And then this year, you're the manager in Blackwell.
Correct.
Can you talk about how you got connected with the Pecos League in 2022 and your progression to becoming the manager of Blackwell this year?
Right. Like I said earlier, Jonathan Garza was the one that invited me into all of this, really, and we trained for a year, and I didn't know how far this was going to go. That's when I had met Sean. That's when I had met Joe. We were in Weimar, Texas. That was only an hour and a half away from Houston, so that's why we were able to do it. We were all living in Houston and figuring it out. That first year, I had no idea. We all had no idea what we were running into, but it was such a great experience, and we wanted to be a professional baseball player, and we came out and tried to put a team together to do that.
And that was your first year, and
Yes.
it was Joe and Sean's first year
Correct.
as professionals, and then it was Weimar, Texas. The stories I heard, it was a great stadium with no fans.
Yes.
But
Unfortunately.
so how did it feel for you? You talk about growing up in Japan, looking
Yes.
at American baseball and your images of that, and coming over here, getting used to the culture and seeing American life as an adult. How did it feel playing professional baseball in the United States?
It was a dream come true. I'm not going to lie. But whatever level it is, I got to say in a beautiful stadium, I got to play professional baseball with great guys and a great opponent. We played the Austin Weirdos at the time a lot, and it was such a great experience that I'm very grateful of, and that's probably why I still love the game. That's gonna keep me
And
going.
so, if the stats on the baseball cube are right, you get 14
Right.
games, you hit
Yes.
about 250, so you held your own.
Right. Yes.
Right? And you were off in 2023.
Correct.
And then, how did you end up the assistant manager in Santa Fe? That's a tough place to play, never mind manage.
Right. Yes. The team that Jonathan had, we kept training in Houston. So in 23, they had gone to Monterey, California, and I just had decided to do real estate and work that summer. So I had kept training, and then 2024 had come up, and they were going to Santa Fe. So I said, yeah, okay, I can make Santa Fe work, and took that whole summer off and spent it there. It is a rough place to manage, yes. It was quite an experience. We had to learn, but I think we got to learn at a great place too at the same time, because they have so much history there, and they've had great people too.
Well,
with
Santa Fe, for people that haven't been to the ballpark, it's about 250 down the right field line. It's very hot there, obviously.
Yes.
It's 6,000 foot elevation. The field is probably I think not one of the better ones in terms of conditions. So you've got to be very understanding. So who was the manager there that year?
Jonathan Garza. Yes.
Okay. So how did you make that transition? So you played there. Did you play?
I barely played.
Okay.
I was more of an assistant coach.
So how did you make the transition from being a player to being an assistant manager?
Honestly, I really went at it feeling like I would play. I wanted to support the team in any way I can, fungo, whatever. It was just more about being the team and helping out, because I didn't have the managerial role. So it was more of a supportive role that I did with the players and tried to convey the messages that couldn't be done with the manager a lot of times.
So would you give us an example of some of the responsibilities that Jonathan gave you to help him out?
First base coach was big, and I would be in the bullpen if not the case. So I would run back and forth. He would do the third base and the bench. So that's how we did it. If we needed to relay messages from the bullpen to the bench, that's how we had our signals. First and third, we had our signals. We didn't really do signs, but he and I had signals that made it work. So I think that was a good partnership we had.
And so what did you feel like you accomplished having at the end of that year in terms of learning about the managerial responsibilities?
It was really more about on-field is important too, but I didn't understand how off the field would affect the guys so much. When you're a player, you just go through it yourself. But trying to coordinate 25 guys is a whole other story. And Jonathan had his ways and keep them strict and on things, and I just followed. So it was a really good learning experience for me, and I didn't realize at the time, but really prepared me for this year.
So what were the 2 or 3 things that you were able to bring to Blackwell that you were able to learn in Santa Fe?
Well, how we practice was very important to me. Getting the guys here, and some teams may run it different too, but in a general way, we just try to go get the work in as a team as much as possible. But at the same time, we valued individual work too, and the balance of it was hard to do, but we had to figure it out as a team.
And any moments that stick out in your mind? Did you think back now? Were there any particular moments in games or off the field that just crystallized something for you that you'll always remember?
Well, because I was in Santa Fe, I learned a lot to how to play in Santa Fe. I think that's what it was that kept stuck with me. Trying to, because it's such a hitter's stadium
Right,
that
and-
I had to prepare for that.
So it's a Santa Fe style of baseball, short
Style of
fence.
baseball.
The dirt is really packed down.
Right, uh-huh.
So
We don't have 1 games, 2 games. We had a 4-game series, so we had to really prepare for that, and pitcher-wise too. But that's what stuck. Be strict on them is what really stuck from Jonathan for me. He's a military guy, so I don't know what it is, but my way of Japanese baseball really stuck with his way of a background in military, and that really tried to bring in from that experience, I think.
Okay, and so how is it that you were able to become manager of Blackwell? What were the steps that brought you to Blackwell?
Well, again, I go back to Garza, but because I was his assistant, I planned on going back to be his assistant. I trained with him down in Houston, and we have this brotherhood. But Blackwell had opened up, and he had suggested the job to me. So I went to Blackwell. Probably the next day it was offered, and went to meet the GM Cindy.
Right. Yep.
And,
Met her.
Yep. Took the job, and it was really sudden, but nothing will really prepare you for it. Really, it's just when.
Well, being in Santa Fe, that's got its own unique aspects. Of Blackwell, it's hot. The center field fence is just 340 feet away. It's again another demanding environment in terms of recruiting and what you made the playoffs in your first year, so congratulations to that.
Thank you, yes.
So what do you what were you able to accomplish this year that brought the Flycatchers to the playoffs?
Actually, it was a struggle. It was quite the struggle. It was hard gathering players, finding the guys. I think the 6 months before it was a headache as much as the season. But once I was here, we had to get it done, and the team really came together. We got quite a quality guys that I really enjoy playing with and having on my team, and we got here, so I'm glad.
Well, we know we played Blackwell. We played you, I think, 14 times this month, and we've had some really close games. We've had games that have been lopsided, and we all know Pecos League baseball. There can be a lot of errors. There can be a lot of walks, and they can be high scores. And you've got a field that's really small.
Yes.
Having had the 2 prior years, and now you're the manager, how did you cope with, you've got a vision of where you want your team to be. You've got a structure in your mind of how the team is supposed to be run. And we know one of my phrases is anything can happen in the Pecos League. So given the unpredictability, players coming on and off the roster, playing in the heat, what did you bring to the team you think that helped make it successful? I mean, how did you cope with all that and still end up here in the playoffs and having a lot of successful games?
For us, it was because we faced the same opponents a lot. It was keeping their motivation up to keep pounding at the opponents, and I think that was the big part. We had to get those wins against the same opponents, and we had to keep doing it. And it's hard to keep doing that, having that motivation. But I think that's really what being able to add those wins up really got us here to the playoffs.
And as a manager, we're getting close to the end here. You've been a player, an assistant manager, and a manager. If you were going to put a survival guide together, if you were going to have the 2 or 3 or 4 things to share with a future manager in the Pecos League, what would you say to that manager to help him prepare?
I would first say you need at least 9 guys that will travel with you for the next 2 months. At least 9 guys that'll do it with you. And then you want 25, but you need your family of 9 for sure. And then it'll hopefully be 25. That's one. and then you need a really, really thick heart. Because thick skin, I want to say, but thick heart at this point, because it's gonna be your heart that's gonna take the toll, and a lot of money if you can just save up for it. Yes.
I want to follow up a little bit on the 9 guys. It sounds like what you're saying is that we obviously it's a roster of 25 guys. It sounds like you're saying you have to have a core of people you can depend on. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yes. This 2 months, of course, in the minor systems, it is really rough. You have to drive and all that. But traveling as a team on your own, sharing rides, and doing it as rough as this league, I think you need your core. And I really know I have a core that I can depend on no matter what. Of course, if money is the issue, I can't stop it. But if that's not the case, these guys will be there for them, and I will be there for them too. And I think that's a very important part to have as a manager, guys that you can count on, and not guys that you really don't know and are unsure of.
That's great. I want to thank you very much for your time, Mik. It's now 11:30. You're going to see you in about 7 hours on the field for game 2, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're back. You're listening to Baseball's Last Frontier, Stories from the Pecos League. I'm Bruce McClure, and I'm here with Evan Katz, North Platte 80s bullpen coach. That was really interesting.
It's really,
wow.
It's just really hard to imagine all the different backgrounds of people that come to the Pecos League and also American baseball. I mean, here's a fellow who grew up in Japan, was so intrigued about baseball in the United States, he came here to experience it personally.
I might be wrong. The average baseball fan, I think, is undereducated at just how international a game it has become. With the World Baseball Classic becoming so big on the international stage, you're starting to see the average guy get more in tune with something like that. But even, I'm a director with the Society for American Baseball Research, and if somebody asks me any questions about Japanese baseball, Korean baseball, I can't answer them.
Well, I think that's why it was interesting to talk to Mik, because we look at baseball very differently. We're the center of the universe in terms of professional baseball worldwide, but it's played in dozens and dozens of countries. And when Mik and I were talking after the interview, I really began to understand the depth of 175 years of shared baseball history between Japan and the United States. And I also really heard his immense commitment to baseball and his cultural immersion. So what dawned on me is in my retirement, I've been trying to find appropriate ways to share my vintage baseball card collection, because it wasn't vintage when it started back in the 60s, but it is now. And I remembered that I had the 1965 San Francisco Giants rookie card of Masanori Murakami, the first Japanese player to play in Major League Baseball. And I knew I had the card, and I thought it would be awkward to tell Mik I wanted to give it to him as a gift, because I'd only recently met him, and also I had to get home before I could mail it to him. So I mentioned the card to him, and I said, Mik, how about I'd like to share this card with you, because it's going to mean a lot more to you than it is to me in my collection. I offered to trade it for some Blackwell Flycatchers gear, and he thought that was a great idea. So he gave me a Flycatchers hat and t-shirt, and when I get home, I will be mailing my Masanori Murakami 1965 Topps Giants Rookie Stars card to Mik.
All right, so we're going to hold Evan to that. I expect our listeners to get Evan on task when he gets back to Boston. Email him, make sure that he sends that card out. And I'm thinking I should probably send him my want list for my 71 Topps that I'm putting together. Maybe he can help me out with that.
Definitely. I'd help you out.
So, this has been two guys talking about baseball's entry level for the entire summer, but it didn't happen without a lot of help along the way. And we want to take a minute to thank our guests who so graciously gave us some of their time to make this podcast a success. And I'm going to start right off with Todd Everleth, North Platte 80s manager, who was our first guest. And he was fantastic in his second appearance with us and kicked us off with a really good season, didn't he, Evan?
Oh, it was really good. I mean, it's hard to imagine how long ago that was. You know, it was just a roster on paper. It was great for Todd to give us that preseason preview.
Next up was Pat Jordan, who was fantastic. Jeez.
Great stories from Pat Jordan about the Nebraska State League in 1959. There was going to be a game in McCook because we were scheduled to play, and there was a conflict with the American Legion at the field. And Pat reminisced about the last professional games in McCook in 1959, and he's an award-winning author and writer. That was a great show to have him on there.
Derek Dominguez was another one of our guests in episode 3.
Odysseus of the Pecos League with the Austin Weirdos, which were on the road for 2 years, and this year commuting between 2 stadiums in Kansas City and Iola, over 100 miles away. Derek was gracious enough to share his experience as the first manager of the Kansas City Iola Hormigas and his tens of thousands of miles on the road in the Pecos League.
You only put in 6,000 miles or so. You're a slacker.
Right. Well, he's had multiple years to.
Let's keep going down the list. Give me a few more, Evan.
Sure. We got Kim Schultz, the Trinidad Triggers general manager, talking about one of the more successful franchises in the league. We had John Hamowitz, North Platte 80s catcher, about his swing decision notebook. Mm-hmm. And I will say that his parents were 2 of our biggest fans. They've been following the 80s for the last 3 weeks, and they enjoyed the podcast with their son.
Hey, guys.
We had Joe Behrens, a pitcher, and Sean Bennett, a catcher. We wanted to get the pitcher-catcher perspective, and parents of theirs gave us a shout-out.
Nice.
Ivan Santos, North Platte 80s pinch hitter, pinch runner, and a part-time second baseman. We did not hear from his parents, but we know that they were listening carefully in Brooklyn. Pierce Salbago, we know his parents listened to the podcast because we interviewed him with his father, David.
That's right.
A great father-son interview there. Ryan Lutinsky met his dad, and he loved hearing his son on the podcast. He's our super sub pinch hitter, right fielder, bullpen catcher, and field maintenance supervisor. Micah Scott and Scott Cotton, Pecos League umpires. We did not hear from their parents, but we can tell you that they have safely driven all over the Pecos League this summer because they've umpired about 25 or 30 of our games.
Wow.
And Mik Ebisu, well, we'll see. Maybe next week we'll hear from his parents. So thank you very much, Mik. Thank you to all of our guests for making this such an enjoyable season. And people were very accommodating and just made our jobs, Bruce, so easy.
I agree.
We have such good guests for our 12 episodes.
I agree. Baseball, as far as I am concerned, and I've said this many times in the past, is a conversational sport. And without those conversations, you don't get the full experience, whether it's you're sitting next to whoever you are at the ball game talking about what's going on the field or what's going on in another park, or even, just what's going on in life. The game promotes those conversations. And each one of those interviews was a testament to that thought that I've promoted for such a long time. And great stuff by you. I'm just the guy up here in New Hampshire who's trying to put it all together and make it sound good. So you done good, Evan. You done good.
Well, it's always teamwork, Bruce. I mean, you're the co-host and the producer, and I think that what this podcast shows is how baseball is unique. You play it every day. There's still a lot of downtime. You've been to the SABR conventions and you've met hundreds, if not thousands of people who just love talking about baseball. It's a sport. It has a very deep minor league system. It has a rich history, and it just promotes itself through the conversations that get created because there are so many angles and so many aspects. And that's one of the things that we were hoping to do with this podcast is hear people talk about the Pecos League from different perspectives. And I think over the 2 years and the 24 episodes that we've done, I think we've done it well. And those episodes will be on the internet forever. So we've got an audio version of the Pecos League for people to tap into whenever they want.
That's right. And for more information on the Pecos League, you can check out their website at pecosleague.com. But if you're a hardcore baseball fan, I got to tell you, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to sabr.org today. Evan Katz, last licks. What do you got?
Last licks, breaking news. The Pecos League has announced that North Platte will return for its third season in 2026. This is a recognition of the community support by the volunteers, businesses, and fans, and the development of a competitive team. In 2024, first-year manager Todd Everleth scrambled to assemble a roster a few weeks before training camp and finished 16-33. In 2025, with time to recruit, the team finished 27-21 and qualified for the playoffs, making it to the second round. And planning for 2026 has already begun in North Platte. The league has announced that the 80s will open the season in 2026 in Garden City, Kansas.
Where else would they open but Garden City?
Rematch.
I love it. This has been fun, man. We did it.
Thank you again, Bruce, and thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our fans, and I'm going to miss you, Bruce. And here's an oddity. I have never met Bruce in person.
Evan and I have never been in the same room together.
Pardon?
Evan and I have never been in the same room together.
I've never met Bruce. We virtually met through SABR meetings, through the Northern New England chapter, the Clyde Sukeforth chapter that Bruce runs. We came up with this idea virtually. We talked about it. We have never met. This fall, I'm going to meet Bruce. And Bruce, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to bring you a Pecos League souvenir for your baseball man cave.
Love it. I'm looking forward to it. This is great. But now, are you going to be back in 26? Do we know?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
So we're going to be doing this again next year, but this time it's going to be remote.
Well, we have experience with that. You never know.
We sure do.
Anything can happen in the Pecos League.
There you go. Anything can happen in the Pecos League. This has been a blast. I hope everybody out there has enjoyed listening to it. I know we have enjoyed creating it for you. I want to thank everybody for listening and participating. I want to thank Evan for doing such a great job as my partner and chief interviewer for our podcast. And for Evan Katz, I am Bruce McClure. Thanks for listening.